Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably already know that this is my deep dive year into the Thoth Tarot system. And yes, I call it a system. And last week was the first video. And the key word, if you will, to that week's video was worry. And this week, I was hoping for a brighter, cheerier, sunnier spread to be presented for us, and we didn't quite get there. Yeah, the keyword, and yes, there is a keyword to the spread that I'm using. There's a central card that lies in the center of the conscious sphere of the spread. And the card in that spot this time was indolence. Now, do you know what indolence means? Probably you do. I'm sure you know what indolence means much better than I do. Indolence isn't a word that I use in my daily life. I don't work it into my everyday conversation. So I wanted to go back and I wanted to look it up. And indolence points towards the idea of laziness. Now, what does laziness mean for someone who lives an intentional life? How does that work for intentional living? Well, laziness. Another aspect of indolence is avoidance of activity or avoidance of work. And it's that word avoidance that I think is key. In laziness, in indolence, I think oftentimes we think of somebody who is just, I don't want to do it. I don't know. We think of somebody who doesn't have any energy or any motivation. And I think maybe in terms of living life intentionally, we might want to reframe that perspective. There's a lot of resistance included in the words lazy and avoidance of work, avoidance of activity, and indolence. And it's not the desire to relax and the desire to stay in one place and the desire to take time out to play, to do other things. It's the avoidance of doing something else. That is the indication of resistance. And whenever we notice resistance, we notice that we are cutting ourselves off from the wonderful power of intention. We're blocking our access to the flow of the current of intention. So indolence, rather than being something that is inactive, it's an active resistance to doing things. And that is apparently where this week's spread is pointing us. There's a resistance here. There's a tension, and maybe not as much tension as there was last week. But if we look at the image on the card, which I'll show you in just a little bit, it looks pretty dark. It looks pretty dank. Which is one of the characteristics of some of the cards in the Harris Crowley Thoth Tarot. Some cards in the deck look a little bit dank, right? And this is one of them. So friends, we're going to dive into the spread. And I think we have some help in the spread as well. What can we do when we feel ourselves in the state of feeling lazy or feeling indolent? Maybe we can parse apart some of the reasons for the feeling in the first place. So what I'm going to do, as usual, is I'm going to show you the entire spread. And then we're going to talk about it. And then I'll break it down into its bits, and we'll talk about the bits. Okay, friends? That's the standard plan of action. So here we go. Just a moment ago, I was saying how some of the cards in the Thoth deck look dank. And one of these cards looks pretty dank, right? Did you notice which one that was? But even this card, the card that looks and I'll say it again, dank, is beautiful. I love Lady Frieda Harris's artwork for this deck. I just love it. And I think it's rich. I think it evokes emotion. I think it is powerful. And I believe that just as Pamela Coleman Smith had a powerful influence, in fact, was the creator of the Smith-Waite deck, with the guidance of Arthur Edward Waite, I believe Lady Frieda Harris was the creator of the Thoth Tarot with the perhaps more powerful, perhaps a little bit more pressured guidance from Aleister Crowley. But the deck, the images of this deck are hers. She did not paint things that she would not want to paint. They fought amongst each other, between each other, and Crowley won out, but Crowley won out because he convinced Lady Frieda Harris that the direction that he believed the card should move in is correct. I don't think she completely just gave in because she was weak. The bits of letters that I've seen between the two of them indicate she was a formidable power. And so yes, I attribute this deck equally to Lady Frieda Harris and Aleister Crowley. And I see the artwork being her, and when we read Tarot, mostly we're reading the artwork with the framework, with the background, with the environment of other esoteric knowledge that is transmitted through the artwork, right? So, I think the cards, the artwork drawn, painted, created by the Lady Frieda Harris is beautiful. It's unsettling at times. There are only a couple of cards in the deck that I just don't like, and that's me. It's not her, it's me. And in fact, one of those cards is coming up today. But it's not the one that looks dank. I like the art on that one. It just doesn't make me very happy to see it. Does that make sense? So, friends, we're going to go into the reading. Really, I promise. And how are we going to read it? Just in case you are new to the channel, let me give you a breakdown of what we're going to do. You saw there were 6 cards in the center, right? 3 on top, 3 on the bottom. The 3 on top give us the conscious sphere. The 3 on the bottom give us the unconscious sphere. And then you saw 4 cards from a smaller deck, the mini Thoth deck, and those are the 4 elements. So I call this my elemental spread. Now we had fire and water and air and earth, arranged deliberately in that order to remind us of the elemental dignities. And then you saw the 2 cards from a very different deck, and it's an I Ching oracle on either side. And so that's the order that we're going to read them in. Top, bottom, the corners, and then the 2 sides for the advice. So friends, let's take a look at oh, I forgot one thing. Between the 4 cards for the element and the bottom set of 3 cards for the unconscious or the below the surface part of the reading, we're going to look at the 6 cards again all together in one group, reading in a very specific pattern. So again, top, bottom, all 6, then the 4, and then the 2 at the end for the advice. Okay? Here we go. Here are the 3 top cards. These 3 cards give us the conscious sphere of this spread. And every week I ask, how can we live life more intentionally? And apparently we can live life more intentionally. Doing this? Really? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's what this spread is trying to tell us. I think this spread is trying to tell us that this is an area of our life that we want to give attention to in order to live life more intentionally. Does that make sense? And you saw from left to right, we had the 2 of Wands, we had the Eight of Cups, and then the Princess of Swords. And the way I read these three cards together is the center card is the central message. The card on the left, which was the Two of Wands, is there to modify, to give more information about the central card. And then the one on the right completes the sentence of modification for the central card. So that's the order we're going to read them in. And we'll start here with the Eight of Cups. And you see this card is, like I said, a little dank, right? The greens are very mossy and the water looks very stagnant. Do you notice that the handles on the cups are broken? Do you notice that the cups on the top are getting no water, whereas the cups in the middle and the bottom are getting water? So it's not like there's no life in this card. There is life, there is water pouring, but there's emptiness above, and there are filled cups below. And you can see at the bottom, you can see in the card that there is the glyph for Saturn and the glyph for Pisces, because the Indolence card points to Saturn in Pisces. Now, Saturn doesn't naturally belong in Pisces. Saturn naturally belongs in Aquarius and Capricorn. So we go Capricorn, Aquarius are both Saturn, and then Pisces is the natural home of Jupiter. But here we've got Saturn butting his head in here. And Saturn is the planet of boundaries, is the planet of limitation. It's the planet of time as well, of past and future, of rules. And Pisces is the open waters of the ocean. Pisces is the deeply, emotionally, not vacuous. Vacuous is air and vacuous is emptiness. Pisces is full to the brim with water. It's a deep pool of swimming territory, deep sea diving, all of it. And when Saturn gets into Pisces, Saturn starts to, like a sponge that seems really, really clear and really have good edges and seems a little bit solid, you put it in water and suddenly it gets kind of soft. The boundaries become weak. And I think that's what this card is indicating. Our aspect, we all have Saturn. We all have Saturn in our charts. We are all Saturnian. In fact, I'm in the middle of my Saturn return, just so you know. And just so you know, where is Saturn now? At the time of this video recording, we don't use tape anymore. Saturn is in Pisces. Just saying. And I'm in the middle of my second Saturn return, so you can kind of figure out around how old I am. And here we are, Saturn's in Pisces again. And this is a time of weak boundaries, of Saturn's losing his, her there. Let's just say his. Now, Saturn is a dude planet, right? Losing his ability to hold everything together. Saturn is almost forced to dive into waters that Saturn doesn't really want to be in. Saturn likes to think about things and do things in a Capricorn and Aquarius, do the work, do the thinking, get things clear, carve things out. But then diving into this immense body of water, it's like the edges start to erode. And so maybe that's where we get the idea of indolence. Yeah, that our ability to be clear, to be active, to make things, to do things, to think about things softens here. And we avoid activity because we're like a wet sponge. Not because we can't, not because we don't want to move maybe, but because we can't move because there's something weighing us down. And the guidebooks around this card point to things like hopelessness of desire gone wrong. Now, we want to do something, but it started going wrong and we just give up hope. Or we get caught in really shallow ambitions. Instead of an ambition that's deep and meaningful and powerful, we get caught in these shallow ambitions that are almost meaningless. Or we get into a rut of emotions and bad habits and that we are unable to break the boundaries of. And so maybe we abandon our success. Whatever success we have, either the success that we have attained or the success that is on the horizon, we give up. Now our interest has declined. Our emotions become stagnant, just like this water back here. Yeah, and they're difficult to bear. There's just so much of this stagnant water around. There is just stagnation here, which makes it difficult for us to gain life, our energy, our life forces back. And so this is not a good place to start out. And what could possibly get us stuck here? Why isn't this a spot of taking a moment to relax, right? After that period of worry, healing time, self-care time, why isn't it that? Why is it this? Well, it could be because of the next card. The next card here is the Two of Wands. This is actually one of the cards that I do not like the artwork on. And I do not like the artwork on this card, not because of the design, but because of the colors. And especially it's the red and the blue at the edges. You see the blue in the center here? That blue in the center, I'm good with. I love that blue in the center. But you'll notice how that blue in the center is a little bit rich. It's a sky blue, but there's a richness to it. But as you go out towards the edges, that rich feeling sky blue becomes very, if white could be a color of muddy, a very muddy color. It just loses all flavor to me around the edges. And it's that contrast of that fiery, powerful red and then this the environment, the surroundings of this not blue, not white, kind of blah color that I just don't like it. How do you feel about it? I'm probably just being weird, but this is one of the cards that I just don't like the artwork on it. But still, and it's not the artwork, it's the color. I don't like the color on this card. The attribution down here you see is Mars in Aries, which is a very happy pairing, right? It's the first decade of Aries. Love that. The title of the card is Dominion, so we're in our power, which is wonderful. And those two crossed wands, they're called Dorje wands. The crossing here is let me attempt pronouncing this again. Vishvavarya. Now the crossing of these two wands is Vishvavarya, which is the foundation of the material world. But the foundation of the material world is based on destruction, being the first step of any creative process, according to Crowley. Crowley says the first step of creation in any process is destruction. You gotta break shit down to be able to create, according to him. So in this card we have pure will, free of attachment to purpose or result or even object. We're just pure will here. And there's a meaningful and quick burst of energy in the Two of Wands. There's strength, there's boldness, there's courage. There's the ability to keep going in the direction we have chosen. And this card shows us that because it's Dominion, we can work through obstacles and keep in charge of ourselves. Just like Aries, fresh out of the gate, just like Mars, fresh out of the gate in Aries, giving us cardinal fires, vital attributes, entering the question of this reading. We got fire here. And fresh fire. Unsplit, unsplit, but also non-resisted fire. So we are natural and confident, and we have no guilt, and we rely on no falsehood for our feeling of power. Now, we're not clever and cunning and powerful because we're telling people things we think they want to hear in order to gain our power. This is just pure firepower, which is wonderful. This is a wonderful card. But together with this one here, we are at odds. Not only in meaning, but also in element. Yeah? Fire and water are elemental enemies. Just as air and earth are elemental enemies, fire and water are elemental enemies. And so, our problem with the Eight of Cups of indolence might be because we have the fire, we have our dominion, but it is in conflict with our emotional state, and therefore we break down into indolence. Does that make sense? Have you ever... We often think of our emotions as having the ability to raise our willpower and our passion and our creativity up. And that is true. But remember, we were coming off of worry last week, right? And that worry clashing up against a potential burst, beginning of fire. Here, right? Yes, our pure will. There's a war that tires us out. And we got this next card here. The Princess of Swords. A beautiful card. You see the princess there with her arm raised up above the level of her eyes, looking like she's shielding her eyes from maybe the lightning activity off in the distance, and that arm is also the one holding the sword, right? She's leaning up against an altar. We see what looks like destruction perhaps around her as well. She may be defending that altar. The Princess of Swords is Earth of Air. And the Princess of Swords would be the Page of Swords in a Smith-Waite deck. Now, Crowley associates the Princess of Swords with hexagram 18 of the I Ching, which is earth weighing down upon the air, suffocating ideas and freedom of thought, weighed down by family responsibilities and anxieties. Which kind of reminds us of this card a little bit. Yeah, the earth weighing down upon the air in the Princess of Swords could give rise to indolence, could give rise to our breakdown of our ability to take advantage of this. And so we get the feeling of, I just can't do anything. And instead of, I'm self-caring, right? Instead of that, we feel like, I'm just being so lazy. Why can't I get up and do things? So who is this? The Princess of Swords has a lot of good stuff around her as well. Yeah? Thought into action. Ideas don't like to be constrained by matter here. The Princess of Swords, look at that sword, is able to cut through the BS. Something similar to the way I would read the Queen of Swords in a Smith-Waite deck. The Princess of Swords is swift, forthright, brilliant, and impatient. And the Princess of Swords can also hold on to grudges. The princess is reactive when things don't go right. They don't go her way. They don't go the way she thinks they should go. She can get very reactive. Well, let's blow the whole thing up if it's not going to be the way it should be, right? And the Princess of Air will rebel in order to gain clarity and openness and truth. So again, it's like cutting through the bullshit, right? She's willing to destroy the repressive or things that restrict her experience of life. Anything that feels like a chain or a bondage or an oppression, she's going to break it apart and destroy it, according to Crowley. This is a very powerful royal for the deck, right? In some ways, much more powerful than, I think, the Prince of Swords is, who is supposedly the next level up. But the princess is powerful. So we got this potential to crack things apart, to break things apart. But just like Saturn and air is not an enemy of water. Yeah, the princess of air, Earth of Air, the Princess of Air has no beef with the Cups suits. Now they can get along pretty well. But because we've got this introduced, this desire to activate our pure will, to be bold, to be strong, to be courageous, in a situation where we feel like we're in the murky waters of a swamp and can't do anything, and so we start accusing ourselves of laziness. This princess can either help us or hurt us. The princess could make the problem worse because we start criticizing ourselves, because we start turning that power back upon ourselves for accusing ourselves of laziness, of indolence, and why can't you get your crap together? I've got to cut through this bullshit and turn that power in upon ourselves. Or we can turn that power against that feeling of murkiness that we sense from perhaps our environment and break free of the Eight of Cups. I think it's possible. But I think right now the Princess of Swords has turned that weapon in and upon herself. Herself being ourselves. Again, makes no matter whether we're in a male body, a female body, a trans body, a cis body, an intersex body, whatever kind of body we're in, we're all princesses. And so I think this card is indicating how we are doing self-harm. We're accusing ourselves, we're beating ourselves up for this feeling. And what does that do? Does that help? Or does it give more power to the Eight of Cups, to the feeling of indolence, the more we beat ourselves up for not doing anything, the less we're going to do. Until we're able to break the chain of pain that we're causing for ourselves, right? Have you ever experienced that? Now, we're going to look at 3 more cards that give us the unconscious, the below the surface attitudes, the below the surface elements. And maybe that will help us either explain or give us a way out. I don't know. Let's take a look at those 3 cards right now. The three cards you just saw from left to right were Ace of Cups, Four of Discs, and Six of Cups. So we've got a lot of water here under the surface of the three cards above, right? But we start off with Earth in the center. And let me show you the card. It's a beautiful card. I love this card. We see here a castle, what looks like a castle, right? And there's a moat around the castle. And the castle is formed out of four towers. And you can see in the artwork, perhaps, that we have the sun in Capricorn. So now Saturn is the natural habitat of Capricorn, which is interesting because we had Saturn in Pisces right above, right? So Saturn wants to be down here, but we've got the sun here in Capricorn. And the title for the card is Power. Now, power of structure in order. I'm sorry, power of structure and order in matter. And the tower, I'm sorry, the fortress that you see here on the card is modeled on the Enochian system for communication with the angels. And you can see the four elements at the top of each one of the towers, can't you? Yeah, which one is that? So there's fire up here, and then there is earth down here, and there is water up here, and I'm sorry, no, there's air. Wait a second. Okay, no, I'm sorry, I lied. There's water here, there's fire here, there is earth here, and air here, right? So we've got the four elements, we've got this mnemonic device for an altar for the Enochian system of communication with the angels. And this is the card of manifestation, of integrity, of character. Yeah, so getting what we want, but doing it with integrity. Being a person of character, manifesting from an ethical place, right? Organizing and making arrangements, a little bit like a Virgo, but also Capricorn. Organizing and making arrangements is a Capricornian thing to do. Also negotiation, making agreements, finding accord between people in order to get things done, in order to succeed, in order to climb up that mountain like a good Capricorn sign would want to do. Yeah, a Capricorn is not stationary, and it's in movement, climbing the mountain like a goat, like a Capricorn, and is able to gain money or influence, is able to succeed, is able to know that friends, is able to feel secure with their friends, is able to settle debts or arrangements, is able to bring everything to rest and then use the necessary power and get the necessary power in order to succeed. And there's a dependability to Capricorns, right? Now, Capricorns, again, can solve the problems. And this is what we have from beneath. We have this structure. We have these ethics. We have the strength of character here. And this card is modified by the Ace of Cups. Beautiful, also a beautiful card. We see this beautiful cup resting on a lotus with the beam of light, which is indicated as being the Holy Spirit coming down into the Holy Grail. This artwork is gorgeous, it's lush. And the Ace of Cups is a cup of fertility, of productiveness, of beauty, of pleasure, of happiness. That's the beginning of all things emotionally good, but also productivity. And our ability to pass on the love that we have. There are boundless possibilities for creation. This is Kether, the crown of the tree of water. And we make use of each pleasure while it's available to us. That's the suggestion of this card. It's to make use of the good things that are available for us. So if there's wine, enjoy the wine. If there's cheese, enjoy the cheese. If there is fresh air and a sandy beach, enjoy those things. If there is a forest and woodland creatures, enjoy those things, right? So this is the potential of water, able to transform itself into either blood or wine. And the Holy Spirit descends upon this and consecrates this chalice, this grail, this holy grail, this holy chalice. So we have blessings here, we have purity here, purification, pleasure, happiness. And that can modify this very nicely. Earth and water build each other up, support each other. Their mutual receptivity is a boon to each other. So we've got within us, we have the power, the integrity, the ability to negotiate and work our way through problems, to settle things, keep moving, to gain, and to take pleasure in all of those activities. And to feel the blessing of working and doing things and enjoying things. And that is modified by the sun yet again in another cup, in another card, which is a cup card. And here we have the sun in Scorpio for the Six of Cups. And you see those 6 cups? The water is pouring down from the lotuses upon those 6 cups. The colors are vital and fresh and alive and beautiful. And the Six of Cups is the beginning of a wish, according to Crowley. It's ease, harmony, and diplomacy. Getting along with other people. There's steady increase here. Emotional renewal and regeneration are possible here too. But it's not really the emotional renewal of a spa day, perhaps. This is rather the emotional renewal that comes when we are in harmony with other people and we're increasing steadily. And we feel the desire to wish and to create. The sun in Scorpio is not the spa day sun. It's the sun of mystical, occult, purity of consciousness. The summer sun on an ocean holiday, a little bit. Pleasure can be increased by sharing it here as well. Now, we noticed that sharing was part of both the ace and the 6. So this is, 6 is Tiphereth, which is beauty and the heart of the tree of life. So our heart here, the beauty of the suit of cups, the beauty of emotions, the beauty of love, the beauty of this kind of creativity. And it's a reflection of, according to Crowley, this is the reflection of the ace in Kether. Down into the 9 of Cups below, which is happiness. So we have, on the tree of life, we have above, number 1, the ace, which reflects down into 6, Tiphereth, here, to 9, which is right below it, the 9 of Cups, in Yesod, which is happiness. So here, pleasure reflects down into happiness. So pleasure is above, pleasure is the heart, pleasure is the thing that joins all of the emotions of the tree of cups, the tree of water together. It connects everything to everything else. With ease, and with renewal, and with the sun. The brightness, the purity, the vitality of the sun. So below the surface, we've got a lot of good stuff going, right? Which makes that top bit so curious. Maybe this these three cards, even though they are not necessarily elementally in line with each other, maybe these three cards are what's feeding the dominion in the Two of Wands above, but gets lost in this Eight of Cups in the center. Now there's that tension, that antagonism between water and fire just breaks things down in the Eight of Cups. Maybe. So friends, what are we going to do? Let's take a look at all 6 cards together. And we're going to read these in a very special way. Yeah? We're going to start by looking at how the 2 bottom cards inform the top central card, and then we'll look at the 2 upper cards and how they inform the lower central card. I'll show you a picture and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here it is. Did that picture make sense to you? Did you see how we're going to be reading these cards? So, I reorganized my cards for us, and the first grouping that we're going to be looking at is this grouping. All cups, right? In the center we have the Eight of Cups, which was above, and then below we have the Eight of Cups and Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups and the Six of Cups. So what is this telling us? What this is telling us is that in our conscious mind right now, we're perhaps beating ourselves up for inactivity, for stagnation, for feeling hopeless over something gone wrong or not exactly being right. And remember that Princess of Swords, when she thinks that something isn't quite right, she goes and breaks shit apart. Sorry, I hope you don't mind that. Pardon my French, but she breaks shit apart, right? And maybe that's part of that Eight of Cups indolence, that broken things apart, and it's just like giving up. Yeah? And it feels worse because of these 2 beautiful, in our unconscious sphere, in our below the surface sphere, we know that we have the power of the Ace of Cups, of fertility, of beauty, of pleasure, and that we can share the love that we have within us. And that the Six of Cups, that love also not only is from God, but is also from God, indwelling God here in this Tiphereth. The God of love indwelling in the heart, in the Six of Cups. Emotional renewal, emotional renewal, pleasure increasing by sharing it. This is all possible. And yet, boom, our resisting doing anything makes this feel even worse. Does that make sense? So maybe we can get some idea of what the hell's up with that. And we can get some what the hell's up with that by looking at these 3 cards. Yeah? Now, at the bottom we had the Four of Discs, right? And the Four of Discs here is paired up with the Two of Wands and the Princess of Swords. Now, the Four of Discs, remember, it's a good card. It's power, it's stability, it's organization, making arrangements, settling things so that we can move forward. It's the Sun in Capricorn. And the Two of Wands actually works very nicely with this card. The Two of Wands, Dominion, here Dominion, fire and earth are simpatico. They're not best buds. They don't lift each other up like fire and air lift each other up. They burn each other. They vitalize each other. But they work together very nicely. And so our dominion, our sense of strength and boldness and courage can enliven this Four of Discs card. But then she steps in. Air and earth are enemies, just like fire and water are enemies. And so while the Two of Wands is empowering the Four of Discs in a sense, the Princess of Swords, which, like I said, is a pretty powerful princess, a pretty powerful royal, comes in with her sense of, this is all bullshit. Yeah, things are not right here. I'm going to break this structure down to find clarity, openness, and truth, come hell or high water. Yeah? Now, in some instances, she might have the ability to defend the structure that has been built. But because these two cards are antagonistic in this reading, and because we had this as the central card, clearly she's not here helping things. She's here breaking things apart. Now this earth here is weighing down this earth. This earth here is weighing down upon her, just like Crowley said in Hexagram 18, and she's like, let's break it apart so that I can liberate myself. Where this structure could fortify her and give her something to rest on and to work with and to do the work of putting thought into action and being brilliant and working swiftly. Right now, she's tearing it apart. She recognizes this sense of things not being right and the stability that is there beneath. It's time to break that apart, to tear it up. Even though we have, and it's that conflict between knowing the beauty we have and the potential for harmony and steady increase from those cups. And above, we have dominion. We have clarity of mind. We can cut through the BS, but because of that central card, things aren't improved by those contrasting elements. They are made more challenging. The feeling of stagnancy gets worse, and our beating ourselves up about our indolence and then being perhaps frustrated and tearing up or breaking apart the Four of Discs, that the power that we have within might be damaged by that Princess of Swords. Does that make sense? So friends, we got 4 elements to read around this set of 6 cards, and let's see what lies there, okay? So friends, here are the 4 element cards right now. Friends, I am frankly not sure where this is going to go, so come on an adventure ride with me now. You saw the 4 cards. In the upper left, in the fire spot, they were all major arcana, right? In the fire spot, we had the Hermit. Then in the upper right, the air spot, we had the Sun. Then in the lower right, in the water spot, we had the Star. And then in the lower left, in the earth side, we had the Tower again. The Tower was here with us last week. Do you remember? The Tower is back yet again. And maybe that's a reason for our feeling of indolence. Maybe it's the continuation of Tower attributes in our lives that is making us feel like what's the point of doing any work? What's the point of doing anything? Maybe. But let's see. So, now, last week, if you recall from those 4 elements, everything was cattywampus, right? We had a water card in the fire spot. We had a fire card in the water spot. Both antagonistic. We had an earth card in the air spot and an air card in the earth spot. Both antagonistic. It was just everything. All of the elements were out of place. We don't have that this time. In fact, from what I recall from my previous reading, nothing is particularly antagonistic in this set of 4 cards. In fact, some things are, let's just read the cards. Okay, so let's start off with the Hermit. And I'm not going to describe this Hermit too much because, we saw this Hermit last week too, right? The Hermit here is in fire, and we see that the Hermit is Virgo, which is the domicile of Mercury, from which mutable Earth's vital attributes enter our world. So we've got mutable Earth in the fire spot, and that's okay. A fire in the fire spot would be nice, but Earth in the fire spot is fine. Air in the fire spot would be really cool, but Earth in the fire spot is okay. And this Hermit connects Chesed with Tiphereth. So it connects our loving mercy with our heart, Tiphereth, with beauty. And the Hebrew letter is Yod, which is hand, the hand of fate perhaps. The creative hand. Crowley sees it as a phallus, which is kind of interesting, seeing as there's this huge spermatozoa here, right? There's a lot of sexual magic in the Hermit card for the Harris Crowley deck. And the rune for this card is Naudis, which is desire, sexual magic, desire. Need from innovation. Innovation from need. Where, you know how need is the mother of invention? It's kind of like that. But also disruption and the desire to overcome that disruption is here. So in our fire spot, we've got, instead of moving forward and being active, we do have some creative and sexual energy here to create, biologically create, or to direct that sexual energy into creation. But the advice not to be moved by external stimulus, to keep silent, which when fully accepted could be a Zen moment. We also have seeds and fertilization and gestation here. Not the birth, but the preparation for something to come. Solitary pursuits, going it alone, not getting involved in other people's stuff. It could also be forming practical plans from introspection. Yeah, we turn within, we look within, and we develop a plan of a course of action, a course of movement from that introspection, which is this card. Look at the Hermit. What is the Hermit doing? Is the Hermit just sitting there in the cave looking out? No, the Hermit in this card is here pulling aside the grass, has done the introspection, or is doing the introspection, and is looking forward for where to go, right? And where to go, we see the Orphic egg, which is the birth of the universe. That's where the Hermit has his, her, their sights. So this is a card of inactivity. But this card is suggesting that we use this inactivity for introspection, not be moved, shaken up, disturbed, influenced by things happening around us. Be here, silent. Which is the positive side of what we're seeing as indolence, right? Where we're not doing anything. We beat ourselves up for not being active, for not creating, for you lazy so-and-so, right? Instead, we can use our fire, our passion to ground ourselves here with Mercury in Virgo and do the Hermit work. Instead of, again, beating ourselves up for what we are describing for ourselves as indolence, as resisting activity. So where do we go with the water? Because I'd like to read the pairs. And here we have hope. We have the star. And you'll notice here the star is associated with Aquarius, which is the natural domicile of Saturn, which we started off this whole reading with Saturn up in Pisces. But here Saturn is in Aquarius and is happy, and fixed air's vital attributes enter our world here. And we also had Saturn, no, that was the only place. We had Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn in Pisces was not happy. But if we bring Saturn into allow Saturn to be where Saturn wants to be, in air, it is happy. And now we all know this, right? Crowley switched the Emperor and the star. So in a Smith-Waite system, this card is in the spot is in a different spot, I mean. The Emperor is in the spot for Chokmah connecting with Tipreth. And the Hebrew letter would be He. Here, all of that stuff is moved into the star. So here the star is connecting Chokmah, which is understanding, and our heart. So the hermit connected Chesed, loving kindness, with the heart. This connects our understanding with the heart. And the Hebrew letter is He, which is the feminine letter of the divine tetragram. Yod, masculine, He. And we had Yod, remember, we had Yod here. Yod, He. Then there would be Vav and another. Where are you? Oh, right here at top. He. Right? It would be Yod, He, Vav, He. For the divine tetragram. Tetragrammaton, which is the impronounceable name of God. So we have the creative feminine here. And also breath. Breath is where how life is given, right? God breathed into the first human. Breathed life into earth to create the first human. Inspiration is also that breath here with the head. Because it's head, the rune would be Raido, which is a new way of life. New prospects, but also a rhythm and cycle, which I'd normally associate with the moon, but it's here. Also, communication and reconciliation are possible here in the star because of Raido. So things that really seem star-like to me are new way of life after the tower, after the breakdown, new way of life, new perspectives, reconciliation. The breath of life after the breakdown of the tower, or the breakout of the tower. And we're going to see the tower again, right? So for Crowley, the star is individualism, will, clear vision, ambition, realization of hope. And so because this is in the water suit, I think we want to, and air and water is okay. Yeah, we want to focus more in the direction of what? Of realization of hopes, of clear visions, rather than the fire of willpower or of individualism. There are possibilities here, but they must be realized with will. So will is asked for here anyways, but there are possibilities. Progress, but it must not be taken for granted. This is the beginning of a journey, not to be taken for granted, and it's also a point of navigation, somewhere to direct ourselves. And if we look at these two cards together, fire and water, yes, they are antagonistic, but they're also a pair, like Mars and Venus are a pair. These are also, fire and water are also a pair. And so I think we also want to bring those elements together somehow, to reconcile. And if we look at these two cards, we've got a lot of points of reconciliation, right? We have the Yod and the He for the divine name. Yod and He. We have the point of navigation and the parting of the grass to find the direction to move in from introspection, right? We have possibilities, but they must be realized. And we also have seed, fertilization, and gestation here. So these two cards, if we can bring those two divergent elements into harmony, will help us immensely. The Star and the Hermit. That quiet, looking within, finding direction, finding our hope, finding our clear vision, our ambition, finding it, knowing it asks us to nurture it. Not being moved by external circumstances, but finding the path through looking within, and then looking without. For outside being, not without other, without looking without something. No, that's not what I mean. Looking outside. And so we've got two more elements to peek at, right? Let's look at air. In air, we have a happy, happy, joy, joy card. We have the sun. And the sun is the sun in Leo here, from which fixed fire's vital attributes will enter our world. And according to Crowley, the sun represents the Heru Raha, which is the Lord of the new eon. What could be, well, there are other things that could be equally wonderful, but this is a wonderful card to have in the air suit, even though it's fire. Fire and air, they build each other up. They strengthen each other. So the sun, this fire card in the air spot makes joy, happiness, power. And we saw the sun in two different places already in the suit, already in the spread. We had the sun already in two spots in the spread. We had the sun in Capricorn for the Four of Discs, and we had the sun in Scorpio for the Six of Cups. Cool, right? The sun is lifting up okay, so the sun in Capricorn for the Four of Discs is a little bit problematic. So maybe we want to focus more on the sun in Scorpio for the Six of Cups, and this sun card together empower each other beautifully, because this card is right now in the air. Okay, but there's also, so then there's also tension. So this sun card is the sun in Leo, which is fire, which will rub against the Six of Cups in a very negative way. The sun is in the air spot of the elements, which will rub the Four of Discs card in a negative way. Which reminds us that perhaps in the unconscious area, those possibilities of joy and pleasure are actually what right now is causing a problem. What do we call it when there's a problem already and it makes the problem worse? It's irritating a problem. There's another word, but you know what I mean. So the sun being in the air spot naturally could be a good thing, but when we see the sun in its position in the rest of the spread, there's some discord. And the sun is Resh, the Hebrew letter Resh, which is the head, perfect for the air spot, the beginning of a new cycle. We've got another idea of cycles here, just like we had with the Raido in the star card. We also have the rune Manis, which is destiny and self-knowledge and spiritual power, creativity, divine order and awareness, all wonderful attributes in association with the sun. So we have authenticity here, truth, openness, sharing, facing the light and doing it all without restriction is what Crowley says. Bursting through to the light is here as well. Also, we can relax and give ourselves over to the dance of life. Freedom in self-responsibility. Freedom in being responsible for ourselves and feeling free within that. Because complete freedom is both cause and the result of new access to this solar energy. The solar energy that we have here in the sun is both the cause of our feeling of freedom and also the result of our feeling of complete freedom. Now we feel free, and so we have access to the sun, and we get access to the sun, and that gives us more freedom. It's like an Ouroboros. It feeds upon itself. It feeds itself, I should say. So all of these are wonderful things, right? And in the air, it's a wonderful thing. But it pokes at two of the other cards that we have. It pokes at the earth of the Four of Discs, and it pokes at the cups of the Six of Cups. And this card's pair, interestingly, is the Tower. In the earth spot, we have the Tower, which is Mars, from which cardinal fire, because Mars resides in both Aries and Scorpio. The Tower resides in Aries and Scorpio, from which cardinal fire and fixed water's vital attributes enter our world. Now, being in the earth side of the spread, the Tower, earth and fire for Aries, fine. Earth and fire, earth in Scorpio, water, even better. But if we recall, we also recall that Mars was in Aries for the Two of Wands. So this card and the Two of Wands, they are lifting each other up. They are shining strong light on each other. So that Two of Wands, our dominion, our sense of free will and power, regardless of anything, with no regard to how we're going to use the power, what we're going to do with the power, where that power will take us, how it's going to affect anything, just the pure power that we have in the Two of Wands is highlighted by this card in the Earth suits, which is, again, the Tower. Now, the Tower is related to Netzach and Hod. The Tower links Netzach, which is victory, and Hod, which is splendor. Down at the bottom part of the tree. Netzach, victory, Hod, splendor, and surrender. They're partners on the tree of life. Some describe those two as the legs or the feet of the tree of life. These are the sephira which move the tree of life forward in space and time. Whereas Chesed and Gevurah are the hands creating. These are the feet moving the tree of life. And the Hebrew letter here is Peh, which is mouth, for speech and power of words. Words can break things apart. Words can crack us ourselves open, right? Just like the Princess of Swords can turn that sword in towards herself. It's also Tiwaz, which is the rune of the great god Tyr, which sacrifices his own hand to bring a wild wolf down so that the rest of the gods are saved. So Tiwaz is justice, authority, self-sacrifice, and success. All very interesting attributes for the Tower. So the Tower is destruction of desire and new life. ruin, destruction, desire, sexual energy, which was right below the Hermit, right? Which is a sex magic card. Sexual energy, the prelude to judgment. Now, this cracking down is the prelude to the rise up of the Judgment Aeon card. But we know that the next card is actually the Star card, right? The healing, the reorganization, and the recognition of possibilities and progress that come after this card. So what the heck does that mean? We had this card last week. We also had the Hermit last week as well. The Tower was causing us worry, I believe, last week. Here, I think it might be, because it's continuing, what is causing our feeling that we are being lazy. There's this destruction, there's this breaking apart, there's this sexual energy, there's the desire to form new life. Here in our earth spot of doing and acting and working in the world. But we're not doing it. And maybe we're not able to do it right now. But instead of accepting that, we're calling ourselves lazy. We're calling ourselves indolent. We're calling ourselves not good enough. Which makes the problem even worse. Right? Is this making sense to you? If it is, let me know in the comments below. Friends, we're going to move on to 2 cards of advice from the I Ching. And it's interesting, these cards are a little bit antagonistic too. So friends, let's look at those 2 cards right now. So friends, you just saw these 2 cards, right? On one side was Creator, on the other side was Excess. The Creator is card number 1. It's the first hexagram of the I Ching. Excess is number 62, which is near the end of the I Ching series. The Creator is heaven over heaven. And I don't know if you can see the symbol. Right here is the hexagram. If you can see that they're all yang lines. None of the lines are broken, as they would be for an or a yin. Okay, I don't know how much you know about hexagrams, or you know about the I Ching, or you know about these Sino-Asian symbols. Some lines are full lines, some lines are broken in half. The full lines are, if we think of yin-yang, or in Korean, yang, the full lines are yang. They are the active principle. They are the light principle. They are the positive principle, as in positive negative charge, not as in positive negative experiences in life of good bad. It's not what that means. But the positive of the positive charge, the giving out of energy, the active one. The broken line, the line that is split into 2, that's in Korean in Chinese yin, and that is the negative, the receptive. And again, negative, not negative as in bad, but negative as in the negative charge, the one that absorbs, the one that receives, the one that is open. So in this I Ching hexagram, all 6 of the lines, hex-6-agram picture, all 6 of the lines are yin. In excess, and I don't know if you can see this hexagram here, but the 2 lines on the top and the 2 lines on the bottom are or yang, the receptive. only 2 lines in the center are yin. So these two are not 100% antagonistic, but they are a little bit antagonistic. And excess is thunder over mountain. So thunder over the mountains, and creator is heaven over heaven. The heaven trigram over the heaven trigram, the thunder trigram over the mountain trigram, creating 2 different hexagrams. And so let's start off with creator, because these two are antagonistic, creator and excess. We need to balance these things. So the creator, the artwork is beautiful. It kind of looks like the Ace of Coins card from a tarot deck, doesn't it? Ace of Coins, that's Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Discs. That's kind of what I think when I see this card. But on this central sun-like image, there is a dragon. Do you see the dragon? And this hexagram is for creation and starting new things. Now, new starts and pushing forward. It's coming up with new ideas and taking charge. Very much like that 2 of Wands card, right? Coming up with new ideas and taking charge, new opportunities coming up as well. Making connections would benefit us. And there's a warning here to be careful of hubris. Now, don't get too full of yourself. Even though all of this wonderful stuff is possible, don't get too full of yourself. Watch out for thoughts of invincibility and pushing yourself too hard. Now, don't go crazy, but there's some really good stuff, potential here. Creation, new starts, pushing forward, new ideas, taking charge, creation. Which is possible. And a lot of the cards in this central group of 6 cards for this spread indicated that, right? But there's this card here. Thunder over mountain, excess. Which tells us to be cautious and avoid complications. Treat everything with caution and respect. Small problems could snowball. Address things early will help maintain harmony. Addressing things early will maintain harmony. So go with the flow, move with the times, maintain honesty and honestly do in the world. Be considerate. Be kind, be gentle. Go with the flow. So there's a delicate balance here between these 2 cards, right? There's caution and there's pushing forward. And there's treating everything with respect, and there's new opportunities and what? And starting new things. Now, it's not quite optimism, pessimism, but there's one boldness and one caution. That we want to walk that fine line of balance to be able to move through our sense of indolence. Because again, our indolence is not because how do I want to say this? Again, I think we generally have a poor understanding of laziness and indolence. We think of somebody who just doesn't want to do anything. Someone who is like a limp noodle. There's no limpness and there's no not wanting in indolence and laziness. They're active resistance to doing, to creating. There's a power misdirected in laziness and in indolence. And the way to, I think, get through, past around that is to walk this line. Now, maybe, I don't know, how do you feel these days? Do you feel like something has gone wrong? Do you feel like an opportunity has been missed or has been gained, but it was a shallow opportunity, and so, well, this isn't good enough, and you want to break things apart? Do you feel like you're beating yourself up for not doing stuff? That beating yourself up takes a lot of energy. That could be directed in somewhere else. So there is creative energy here, but it's not being directed in the best way. Let's think about it that way. So, when we come up against indolence, what do we want to do? We want to first recognize that we are, one, powerful, and it's that power misdirected that is causing this sense of laziness and inactivity, of our resistance. It takes energy to resist acting. Did you know that? It takes energy to resist acting and resist the powerful flow of our intention. So the first thing to do is to recognize that we have power and we're misusing it. It's misdirected. And that we are using it to resist our own good. So the first challenge is to open ourselves up, to ease, to relax our fight, to cease the fight, and discover this. Discover the creation and the starting of new things and the coming up with new ideas, the opportunities that are potential. Because there are opportunities everywhere at all times. But to walk the line, to see the opportunity, to take the opportunity, to start anew and be cautious and avoid complications. We want to keep it simple right now. This is not the time for multitasking. We don't go from indolence to blah, diverse multitasking, and yeah, it's not a party of multiple activities. That's not what we want to head towards. Simplicity, caution. Not the caution of fear, but the caution of keeping it together, finding our North Star, which we had with the Hermit card, right? Finding our North Star, and the Star card. Finding our North Star, finding the direction we want to move, cautiously, carefully, introspection. We get this opportunity, but we don't want to go crazy because then we're going to get ourselves in trouble again. We move forward with this card. Addressing things early, not allowing little problems to get out of control, which is part of that 4 of discs card in the center below the surface. And move with the times, move with our own flow, move with our own current of intention, not somebody else's. But be considerate. We don't want to create any enemies here either, right? So that's how we can move forward in this time of our beating ourselves up for, or in those times when we do find ourselves beating ourselves up for our laziness, for our indolence. Does that make sense? I hope so. If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. And friends, thank you for continuing on this journey with me. And if you are still here, hit that thumbs up button. It helps the channel. It really does. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. That also helps the channel. It helps you so you get notifications, and it helps the channel as well. And comment below. I'd really love to hear from you. What do you think of this thought journey that I'm beginning? And I recognize that I am not an expert thought reader yet, but I'm doing my best. And I hope my best is of some service for you as well. So friends, if you want a private reading from me, Smith Waite, Tarot de Marseille, maybe even Thoth, let me know you could let me know in the comments below, but shoot me an email. My email address is below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. All one continuous string of letters and that @ symbol and the period. Shoot me an email, we'll get you a reading. Friends, thank you. Thank you for being here. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.